Tom Brokaw, the award-winning broadcast journalist and anchor of the NBC Nightly News from 1982 to 2004, is probably better known today for his best-selling book, The Greatest Generation, published in 1998, which is the topic of today's book talk. In the foreword, Tom introduces us to his parents and others of their generation born around 1920 on the arid, windswept South Dakota prairie. He looks back at a time of great upheaval, citing the era of Prohibition, the Dust Bowl, and the Great Depression. Coming of age during these catastrophic events meant hard times, hunger, and uncertainty. By the time this generation reached age 18 in 1938, conditions around the world had worsened. Now the whole world was on the brink. Hitler was firmly entrenched in power in Germany, stepping up his anti-Semitic campaign. Japan continued its brutal genocide against the Chinese. Stalin began his show trials and purges in Russia, and the Franco-fascists were on the verge of victory in Spain. While at home, Roosevelt was still trying to revive an ailing economy and put hungry people back to work. Then came the attack on Pearl Harbor, and these young men and women heeded their nation's call to arms and gave the last measure of their devotion to this noble cause in defense of their country. It's with a nostalgic look back that Tom Brokaw coined the phrase, the greatest generation, no doubt a tribute to his parents. He also describes a life-changing personal experience, walking the beaches of Normandy at its 50th anniversary alongside aging veterans, revisiting the very sites once covered in the blood of dying comrades. He writes, "There on the beaches of Normandy, I began to reflect on the wonders of these ordinary people whose lives are laced with the markings of greatness. At every stage of their lives, they were part of historic challenges the world had never before witnessed." Their stories were not easily told. Reluctant to revisit painful memories, uncomfortable with labels like hero, realistic about just having struggled to survive, many thought their stories were not even worth telling. But Tom wanted to get them on the record for posterity. And so we have this collection of short stories about ordinary men and women reflecting back from the vantage point of old age to their youth during the turbulent 20th century. Some of these ordinary people did become famous, and some became heroes, and some even became president of the United States. The Greatest Generation by Tom Brokaw is a history buff's delight. It is a very readable first-hand account of the personal reminiscences of over 47 contributors, with entries by Julia Child, George Bush, Andy Rooney, Robert Dole, and many, many others. It doesn't even have to be read from cover to cover. Instead, it can be read by separate chapters based on one's time and interest. The book has received 5-star ratings from 80% of Amazon reviewers. But please keep in mind that while this is an interesting read, it is not an in-depth scholarly work about World War II. Hundreds of excellent books have been written about this war as memoirs and biographies by notable authors. The intent of this book is to give voice to the everyman who answered his nation's call to arms, and it does just that. Until next time, I'm Irene Concilia.